Hey guys, welcome back for another video. In this video, we're going to talk about the life cycle of going from an assistant project manager to a project manager to a senior project manager, and then hopefully one day a project executive or the COO of your company. So what is a project manager? A project manager oversees the entire operation on any particular project. They are the go-to person who will deal with who primarily is the primary contact for the owner and also who the supers and the foremen answer to. They are the lead role on a project, hence the name project manager. So starting with an assistant project manager. What are the core skills and mindset an assistant project manager needs? In the assistant project manager role, you're now understanding task management. You're probably more of a junior employee at this point, right? So you're understanding what kind of documentation needs to be in order for you to get a project moving. Me personally, when it comes to submittals, contracts, and purchase orders, I always advise that the majority of that work must get done before the first shovel hits the ground. Because once that project starts, the project is gonna move extremely fast, and a lot more issues and challenges that you did not anticipate are gonna start happening. The last thing you want to do is get caught with your pants down, and then people are gonna realize, and then you're gonna realize that you can't move forward because certain submittals or certain purchase orders weren't in line or completed or fully executed. So in this role, you're really understanding how to multitask, all the different documentation that's required to get a project moving. And then, of course, you need to embrace feedback at this stage, right? You always need to embrace feedback, but this is an especially critical stage where you need to embrace feedback, constructive criticism. You need to develop thick skin. You are in construction. The personalities in construction will eat you up alive if you don't have thick skin. And this is the stage you really need to develop that. You need to be detail oriented as well. You need to focus on the small details in addition to thinking ahead and thinking about the long-term goals of the project. And you need to essentially ensure that nothing is missed. No stone is left unturned. And you need to be a team player as well. Proactive support to the PM and the entire team. You are being groomed to be the next number one leader on that project. Either the senior project manager or the project manager for that particular project. The senior project manager, which we'll talk about soon, is going to be overlooking multiple projects. So you need to develop these skills and understand where your career and where your position is going to be going over the next couple of years. So your mindset, you need to be eager to learn from the experienced PMs, as I mentioned before. Take that constructive criticism. Hopefully the PM understands and knows how to communicate with you and doesn't just slam that iron fist all day long, but understands and shows empathy as well. But you need to do the same for those working under you as well. Now, typically the assistant PM is a lesser experienced person on the project. So when you're talking to a super who is more seasoned than you, respect that super. You're not the boss. You're not gonna bash that super and consistently tell them that what they're thinking is wrong. Accept and understand that they are more experienced. So these are really important parts because you want to develop a reputation that you are a listener and you're a learner as well. Several things as well is predict what the PM needs in the near future. Once you start getting going on the project, the first couple of weeks, you're learning how to work with that with your PM and your team, and it's a little bit more difficult. But as time goes on, you'll know and you'll have a much better understanding what's going to be needed in the next couple of weeks. Start to think about how to predict what needs to be done and start doing those tasks without being asked. That was one of my biggest skills when I was young is when there was a problem on the job, I didn't just go to the super, the senior super or the PM and say, hey, we have all these problems. Tell me how to fix it. I would say these are the problems. I think we should try to fix it this way or that way. By doing so, you're building trust with your superiors, and you're also building your reputation as the next leader in the company. And because of that, I was able to run projects as a senior super very quickly in my mid-20s. And we're talking large projects here. We're not talking a couple $100,000 projects. We're talking projects worth tens of millions of dollars. So try to stay 2 steps ahead of the PM and your team. Also, observe how the PM is handling stress as well. Hopefully the PM knows how to handle stress, which we'll talk about soon, but observe how they're handling stress. Construction is a very stressful career path. It's a very high earning career path, but it's also a very stressful career path. So understanding your emotions, your emotional intelligence, and the skills that are required to keep everybody calm and cool is really critical at this stage, as it is for all stages. Okay, so now you've been doing this for a couple of years. Now you're getting promoted to becoming a PM. What's required and what are the skills for a PM who's typically running one single project? Leadership, right? So now you need to really know how to motivate and lead a team. You need to resolve conflicts. You need to show empathy for your team players. You need to take on the responsibility of a leader, okay? No finger pointing. Once you start finger pointing, your reputation, your trust will be destroyed. You know how many years it's going to take to regain that trust? You got to take on responsibility. You got to respect the fact that you are the number one person on that particular project. So when things go wrong, it's probably because you planned or you communicated inappropriately. You just didn't plan ahead. Take on that responsibility. You want that higher earning position, take on the responsibility that comes with that. It's all about accountability. You need to own the project. That project is yours. If the budgets are falling behind, yes, an estimator possibly made a mistake, but you can't blame everything on the estimators as well. You have to understand that the estimators had 2 to 3 weeks to put together a 10, 15, $100 million job. You need to take those budgets. You need to understand cost control, learn how to control costs on a project, and have real-time data to make great decisions as well. So you can't be finger pointing to your field staff because they're not doing things properly because of your lack of planning and communication. And you can't always be pointing fingers to the estimators that the budgets are out of whack. You need to take on responsibility. In addition to all of this, you need to prioritize your client needs. You're working probably for a private owner, a developer. Maybe if you're in the public works agency, you're working for a DOT of some sort. You need to really understand what their needs are, and you need to prioritize their needs as well, while also prioritizing the company you work for's needs as well, because they need to make money as well. Being a PM, probably one of the most critical skills of being a PM, in addition to everything that I just mentioned, is having a sense of urgency. Now, if you go on my website under free resources, I have an article about 8 habits of an effective project manager, which was also published in Equipment World magazine. I highly suggest you go to my website and you check out this article. One of the first things I mentioned is a sense of urgency. You need to have a sense of urgency when you're a project manager. You need to make sure your super and your foreman have what they need to get through the day-to-day operations, and you need to pave the road well in advance of them approaching that road. You need to understand the intersections that are going to come about and the issues, and resolve those issues before they even approach those intersections, as I'm calling them for the sake of this video. So what are some unique insights that I can provide to you to be an effective project manager? One is you need to really be able to navigate supporting your team but also enforcing certain standards, right? Before I mentioned slamming that iron fist, you can't be slamming that iron fist every single day, but you need to be an enforcer as well. You need to know when to support your team, but also when to really hold your ground and enforce certain standards that must be kept. For example, processes, right? Every job should have processes in place. You need to understand what processes need to be enforced to move the needle and move that project forward. Also, you need to have a vision beyond just that particular week or 2 weeks ahead of you. You need to really be great at look ahead schedules, and you need to be thinking well in advance. What are the long lead items that need to be ordered today that are not going to get delivered for the next 2 to 3 months? You need to really be thinking in advance while collaborating with your supers on the day-to-day operations and everything else that's needed. And you also need to leverage your assistant project manager if you're in the position of having an assistant project manager if the project is long enough. So these are the key roles of being a project manager on that specific project. Your goal is to keep that project moving as smoothly as possible, understanding the day-to-day operations that are needed and also what's required in the coming weeks and the coming months to make sure that project is finishing on schedule while keeping your client needs a priority as well, navigating the change orders and all the paperwork that's needed. So now you've been a project manager, you're rocking and rolling on all your jobs, you're hitting your profit margins, you're making good money. Now what's next? If you're working for a large enough company, you'll become a senior project manager. Senior project managers typically are either a project manager on a very large scale project, several hundred million, or if it's a smaller company that does $50, $100 million a year, you may be in charge of several project managers and you're overlooking several projects. So what are the key skills? Strategic planning. You must align multiple projects with the company goals as well. I'm anti-meetings, but meetings is so critical in our business. You need to run great operation meetings where you bring on multiple project managers. You talk about all the different projects, the costs, the resources that are needed. Everybody needs to have a supporting hand. You need to provide a supporting hands to each of these project managers and give them that comfort level to give critical feedback that's required so you as a senior PM can move resources from one project to another to keep each project running as smoothly as possible. You need to also have advanced negotiation skills as well. You need to be able to negotiate with clients and whatever internal stakeholders are involved on that project. I think some of the most successful projects I've been a part of was myself when I was in senior roles, and also when I was in the junior roles. My senior superiors were able to negotiate properly and kind of be able to meet always at a minimum midway with the client on certain issues that were happening on the project. Listen, it's our job as project managers to make money. We are in a profit-driven business. We need to make money, and we need to and we need to really hone in and develop our negotiation skills as we move up that corporate ladder. Oof. That gives me chills even by saying that, because I hate talking about that. But hey, listen, it's a necessity. Also, change management. You need to lead teams through organizational changes. I find that most contractors have a hard time implementing change because the people that who are going to be doing the implementation don't really understand the hows and the whys of that implementation. So it's up to you to really learn yourself why that change is needed, and you need to understand that the people that are going to be helping you with that change need to be comfortable with that change before they can actually help you implement it as well. Why is it benefiting them, and why is it benefiting the company? Because if you're a senior PM, you're probably working for a growing contractor, and this growing contractor is relying heavily on people such as yourself, the senior roles, to help them with their strategic planning and their strategic growth plans. So you are a critical role in this at this point. You need to also be shifting your mindset as you're going up that corporate ladder. Your mindset needs to be shifting. It needs to be on a higher level as you're going up. You're not taking care of the day-to-day operations anymore. So you need to be more of a visionary. You need to be thinking long term. You need to be focusing on the future opportunities and risks. I have a previous video where I talked about business development. You are a critical role of business development at this point, right? So the business developer is bringing in opportunities, and you, alongside with the estimators, are honing in on these opportunities, and you're nailing these opportunities, right? So as a senior project manager, if you're working for a new client, you need to also be communicating with the client and asking them, hey, what can we do better to be the go-to contractor for your next project? So you need to have an open mind. You need to not have a chip on your shoulders, and you need to be that, what's the best way? You need to be approachable. You need to really be approachable at all stages in management, but especially on this stage, because you are a leading role for the owner of the company to bring the company to the next level. Also, you need to really understand risk tolerance, right? So people are really going to be relying on you. The people who answer to you are really going to be relying on you to make great decisions. If you make bad decisions, you're going to have a massive impact on the careers of all the different managers that are working under you. So you need to understand that and respect that you're in a role right now where risk is a major decision. What is the risk? What calculated risks are you taking that you are deciding on that will have a major impact? And you must take ownership. You must take ownership for those decisions. Again, people are relying on you to make great decisions so their careers can be advanced as well. You're in a major role where you're also shaping the company culture within the project management team. What's a great culture? I've worked for cultures where I couldn't wait to go to work on Sunday night, on Monday morning. And I spent 10 years like that. And it was a phenomenal experience. It was because my superiors were very supportive. I also worked for cultures where I couldn't even get out of bed Monday through Friday to go to work. I was very depressed because everybody was finger pointing. The senior roles didn't want to take ownership. Every time something went wrong, they completely pointed fingers. So now it's up to you what path you're going to decide. Do you want people to work for you and want people to literally go out of their way to talk to the owner saying, hey, I was working with Andrew on these last projects, and I learned so much. I want to continue working with Andrew. Please align me with Andrew on the upcoming projects. Think about the impact that's going to have for you in your career if you have people that are answering to you, going directly to the owner, telling them how much of a pleasure it was working for you. And when they're doing that, it's going to lead into the next role that we're going to talk about, whether it's a project executive role, if you're working for a large company, or maybe you could be the next COO of the company. The COO is the owner's right-hand man or gal who is taking on pretty much ownership roles for the company, right? So what are the skills required for this new role? Now you're at the top of the top. You're right there alongside the owner. The owner is pretty much talking to you every single day while you're talking to everybody else and running the show in the day-to-day operations. You now are consuming all of the strategic planning, the resource management for all of the projects, and the organizational leadership. You're also in charge of estimating as well, and understanding what pursuits you need to go after. You're picking and choosing what jobs to go after. You're landing jobs, and it's up to you to get those jobs and those budgets and the assumptions made on those projects properly, do a proper project kickoff. I have other videos and blogs about this as well on my website, out to the field. And then you need to set up projects properly. It's all on you now. You need to make great decisions, because your decisions are either going to catapult the business to a level that nobody imagined, or you're going to tank the company. Let's face it, you're at that position right now. So you also really need to fully understand profit and loss statements, balance sheets, and financial forecasting for the company as well. This may be a new skill that you're learning right now. You should probably talk to your CFO. I think if you're a COO of a company at this point, you're probably going to have a CFO in the company. Let the CFO sit down with you every couple of weeks for a couple of hours and really get you in tune with what they have to do on a day-to-day basis, or maybe hire a consultant to help you with this kind of work as well. Also, operational efficiency. Listen, at the end of the day, if the company's not operating as efficiently as possible, it's because of you, and you need to take that ownership. Now, a lot of companies can hire a fractional COO, which is one of the services that I offer in my company as well, where someone like me can help develop the role and develop the processes that this role needs to go through, and really understand the roles and the responsibility of this particular role. But if you bypass that and you went straight from hiring somebody, then you are the core of efficiency within that company. I highly suggest that you understand lean construction principles and try to implement lean construction within your organization. Again, there's lean consultants as well that can help you with this as well. And you need to automate workflows. Stop reinventing the wheel every single project. It's up to you now to really understand what processes must be in place to move the needle and move that company forward. Don't overdo it with processes. Construction, every project has got its own personality, its own logistics. So you need to have core processes in place that you need to implement and make sure everybody is following from project to project. You're also networking and building relationships as well. You are the business developer. You are one of the head faces of the company as well. Maybe you have a business developer who you're working alongside with. You should be able to go to networking events. You need to let everyone know that you exist. The company is alive. It's doing well. You're the face of the company. And at these networking events, you could try to be recruiting other personnel as well, because you need employees. Your employees that you're leading will make you shine. So you need to recruit the best possible talent. You're at that point now. Although project managers and senior project managers should be doing this as well, you really are at that top level where pretty much everybody that works for the company is working under you as well. Another thing I want to add is, and somebody told me this when I just started in the business as well, is the higher you go, don't ever think that you're working for less people. You're working for more people. There's more people that are relying on you to make great decisions, because their careers, as I mentioned before, are relying on you making great decisions. Everybody wants to be working for a winning company. It's up to you to create that winning company. It's up to you to create that company culture that everybody wants to work for. You are the leader. Everybody is watching you lead. You have a major responsibility if you're in that project executive or that COO position that we're talking about now, right? So, and this leads to I mean, I can go on and on for hours about all these different positions, but I'm really trying to scratch the surface of what really makes each of these positions really move that company forward. And I'm going to leave you on this with the COO. You need to be a visionary. You really need to be a visionary. You can't be looking at the day-to-day operations. You can't be talking to the project managers a couple of months ahead. You need to be working with the owner about where the company wants to go, needs to go, the core values of what's going to make that company a solid culture that everybody's going to be talking about, and where you want to go in 3 years from now, where you want to be 2 years from now, 3 years from now. I try to not develop strategies beyond 18 months to 2 years, because look at COVID. I mean, anything can happen, especially in construction. But where does the company want to be in the next couple of years? If you're a $50 million a year company, how are you going to get to a $100 million a year company? You are working alongside with the owner, developing this strategy, possibly with someone like me who's helping you with the strategy as well, who gives you that unbiased opinion. And then you are also, in addition to everything else you're doing that I mentioned in this video, how are you making sure that each of these projects are moving in the right direction that's bringing you closer to your multi-year goals and within your organization? How are you building the culture of the company? How are you hiring PMs and assistant PMs, not for that role, for that particular project, but where is that role going to be in the next 5 years from now? Do they have the skills to get you to where the company wants to go in the next 5 years? Are your roles and responsibilities in your hiring processes reflecting these new skills that are going to be required? So again, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like it. I would love to hear your comments. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, subscribe and let me know your thoughts.